Hey, what's up, Risers? Thanks for checking out my YouTube page. Please hit that subscribe button, notification bell, get a bunch of daily free content down below. In the description section, there's also a patreon.com/riseorfall link where you will find this cheat sheet for PGA, and it will also have my entire player pool, MME player pool, my Risers confidence picks, and of course, my projections for DraftKings, FanDuel, and SuperDraft. So sign up down there, patreon.com/riseorfall. And if not, at least hit that subscribe button and support a creator providing gobs and gobs of daily free content. All right, let's get to work. All right, so this contest is going to be really interesting this weekend because recent form, things like that, they're not really going to matter. It's been a couple months since we've seen any of these golfers swing a club, and I'm not sure what kind of form any of them are going to come into. It's going to be an absolute wild card of a weekend. I think that means, for the most part, more so now than even the other events that we're usually playing for PGA. It's going to be entirely, well, let's look at what the field's going to be on and how can we leverage that ownership. I just posted about this on my WordPress site about how to leverage LOL, League of Legends, right? And I posted out this article. I talked about where there's massive edge because of these crazy odds, and we ended up having a member win $3,200. They took down first place on DraftKings. We had another member win on KBO last night, took down the $27. Riser Falls on fire, and it's all about leveraging ownership more so than following the most optimal plays based on statistics. Enough of that garbage. Sites out there are always typing up these ridiculous articles saying, well, you got to play this guy because of X, Y, and Z. He has great stats that match this, blah, blah, blah. And I mean, that's great. Play them in cash, but we're trying to take down a tournament. That's why you're all here. Nobody's watching my video today and checking out my cheat sheet because they want to create the best cash game lineup ever. If you do, I'll make a cash game video. Better yet, I'll just post my cash game core in my Discord channel for all my Patreon members, a screenshot of who those 4 golfers will be, plug those in, and then build around it with those final 2 spots off of my Risers confidence picks. Very simple. You don't need to read 2,500 words to decipher who the best cash game plays are. I can just tell you who they are. Now, for tournament winners, you're looking to leverage that ownership. So what we're going to look at most this week is who are the highest projected owned guys? Who can we find as a price point pivot at a similar range of pricing where they have similar upside? And maybe they're a little bit more volatile. They have a downside, a floor that's much lower. Who cares? We're going to take that guy at 10% ownership versus the 25% chalkier pick. It's going to be a very volatile weekend, more volatile than often. And I think that a way to just take down these tournaments this weekend is just purely play ownership. You don't even need to know much about the golfers you're picking. I don't think that's going to be a thing, but I will break it down for you. I actually have a write-up already. It's 1,300 words. One of my PGA pros, he wrote it up and he put down all these low ownership plays he thinks will be quality options, nice pivots off some of the chalk. And, you know, when we're looking at my projections here, we already see a few guys here at the top, Rory and John Ram and Webb Simpson. I mean, these players are going to be higher owned, especially Webb Simpson, I think, with plus 2,200 odds at 9.8K. He's going to pop in a lot of projection models. And, you know, we've got our value system here. There's a lot of quality plays this week. And I think because the pricing's just so out of whack, I think there's going to be chalk everywhere. And that is going to lead to some immense upside. So let's take advantage of it. But before we do that, please hit that subscribe button if you're enjoying what I'm saying so far and you want to check out more of my DFS content. Of course, daily fantasy football. I have 60-page report coming out soon with over 250 players broken down with multiple notes on each player. We're talking about something that's going to be 25,000 to 30,000 total words, and this is for fantasy football, and this is season-long content. It's going to be completely free because I love you guys, and I'm so thankful for the support. So hit that subscribe button. Make sure you are staying in tune with when it's coming out. All right, so my idea for this weekend is really to look at these stats, look at the things that drive success more so than their form or their course history. I don't think that stuff's going to matter as much as it usually does. And I think for quite a while, the recent form is going to be something that's completely irrelevant for like 2 or 3 tournaments here. So when we're looking at some of our stats and our performances, there's a few players that do stand out more than others. All right, so I slid the article right on the screen for people so that you can kind of just read along as I'm talking. It's easier for me to read the stats. I don't need to do 100 takes to try to get these stats correctly spoken out for you. I'm living that dad life, so I'm going to read them on screen, and then I'm going to go be a daddy and avoid having to spend 20 minutes editing this section of the video. So hashtag dad life, it owns me, and that's fine. I'm totally okay with it. Matter of fact, if you don't know who I am, you can find me on Twitter at DFSNDonuts, and the entire reason why I've launched my own product, my own platform and company is because I'm trying to live the dad life 24/7. I don't want to spend time in the car commuting to and from work. I don't want to be grinding away for 8-9 hours a day and then have to do stuff at nighttime. I want this to be my life. I want it to be full 24/7 dad, DFS, fantasy sports, sports betting. It can all kind of be right here in the office, in the house, around the kids. They're 2 and 4. That's everything for me. So while I'll read these stats right on screen, it's because dad life, man. It's most important to me, and here I am. I'm going to read it. It might not be what you're used to seeing around from other polished YouTubers, but it's me. Here I am in its full glory, dad life, giving you DFS projections and content. So one guy I love this week, Gary Woodland, and my man Bennett wrote this up. This article wrote it up for me, and he's very sharp. He's our pro PGA coach, and one of the things I talked about with him as well was looking at stuff that's not going to matter, and that's going to be recent performances, so we looked at stats, right? One guy I think is going to be very low owned is Gary Woodland. And, you looking at his greens in regulation, he's ranked 6th, 16th in APP, 7th in bogey avoidance. And these are the types of things you need to look for when you're picking your golfers this week. And if you look at something like that and you're like, man, Gary Woodland, perfect for this course. And then you look at his projected ownership and you're seeing 9%, 8%. You have a fantastic player who's going to likely end up in my MME, potentially in my core, confidence risers, all sorts of things where he's just going to kind of check off multiple boxes in one shot. Okay, another one, Harris English. And if we're looking at our projections real quick, we see that he is actually the 3rd highest value play on DraftKings based on the rise or fall projections. He'll likely be in every single category for me this weekend, and here's why. It's the bogey avoidance, baby. He's 6th. Unbelievable. And on top of that, if we're looking back, 10 on our last 11 cuts, the guys was heating up before the break. We're not using course history per se to make these decisions, but I think we can still have it be kind of in the background noise. And if everything else also is checking out the box, and then you see that he was really turning the corner here before a pandemic hit. Another player I'm going to be targeting. I want to see what his projected ownership will be. I would imagine a player like this is likely going to be popping in a few optimizers, and if that's true, then I likely will find a way to pivot off somebody like this, who's an incredibly volatile golfer. And listen, I'll say this. If you're going to be paying up this week, John Ram is one of those guys I'm going to be paying up for as well. It's really hard not to like him. He is so good in so many different categories, especially the bogey avoidance at 2nd place, which is, it's going to be one of those stats I'm really, really focusing on this week for the event. And if you're paying up, I think someone like John Ram is a very easy cash play. You could likely play him in small field tournaments. That won't be an issue as well. If you're going to be doing MME this week over on Fantasy Cruncher, what I would suggest is ultimately using this risers column, which will be my confidence picks for the week. I want you to take every single riser that ends up in my riser player pool, and they basically just come across like this. I'll put in these little X's, and you'll see who these players are and what they're for. And if you end up with, somebody who kind of checks off multiple boxes, then they're better for basically all formats. And some players will only be for MME. Some will be just for cash, things like that. So you'll want to pay attention to what this ends up being. So let's say you have, 9 guys in the risers column. Well, for golf, you really want to take down a tournament similar to MMA. You need 6 out of 6 golfers that are going to make the cut. So what you want to do is grab those risers, throw them into a group of 9, 10, 11, how many people I have, and say you want at least 4 or 5, or between 4 and 5 of this group in every single lineup. And then allow the rest of your player pool to be all of my MME picks and have them just kind of populate the rest of your player pool so that you ultimately have 4 to 5 of every single lineup having my risers in it. And then the last 1 or 2 spots being populated with the rest of my MME pool. Those are going to be more volatile options, guys with incredibly upside. They're likely going to be price point pivots off of higher owned players. What that means is, let's say you have 2 guys right here. Let's see, 7K, 7-2. Okay, so you have Higgs and Harmon. Let's say Harmon is going to be 30% owned, and he has a projection of 100, whatever. Let's make this up, just math-wise easier. And then we have Higgs is going to be 5% owned. His projection is 85. Well, Harmon does have a much higher projection. That 30% ownership from a volatile price point and a volatile player is not something I want to eat. A third of the field will have him. Pivot off that guy, grab Higgs at 5%, and live with his 85-point projection. If Harmon doesn't even make the cut and Higgs goes bonkers, or even if Higgs just simply makes the cut, it's probably going to be you and 5% of your buddies out there in that large field tournament, with a third of the field being gone because they ate that Harmon chalk and he ended up stinking up their lineup. So pay attention to ownership, look for price point pivots. That's what I'm going to be focusing on most for the Charles Schwab Challenge this week. And please, patreon.com/riserfall. All things DFS, fantasy football, and on our way with sports betting. Down below, we also have a Monkey Knife Fight $50 promo, a Manscaped promo, SuperDraft promo. We're living large, baby. We are growing fast. We're up to 100, I think around 120 patrons, and we're just on day 22 as a company. So by all means, check it out. Hope you sign up. No matter what, at least hit that subscribe button here on YouTube. Tune back in. I will be breaking down more NASCAR, MMA, and PGA over the next few days. Of course, the LOL projections and KBO projections will always be there for you as well. NASCAR projections were fire this past Saturday. We had a $5,000 winner, a $5,700 winner in NASCAR. I mean, we're just reeling in money left and right. You got to come check us out, patreon.com/riserfall. Thanks for hanging out with me today. I hope this was helpful. I'm going to go be daddy right now. Together, we rise or fall.